Time now for Focus. Today we're heading to Morocco and looking at the impact a drop in the number of tourists is having. There hasn't been a terrorist attack in Morocco in 5 years, but insecurity in the region is keeping foreigners away, even the French, for whom the North African kingdom has long been a top destination. And France's foreign ministry saying Morocco's safe doesn't appear to have helped matters.
Agadir and its blazing winter sun. Despite 300 days of annual sunshine, business is slow throughout the resort. Tourists have deserted the main beach, and there are only a few customers on the main walkway.
We've reduced our prices by 30% for jet skis. It's not just because of competition, it's because there are no customers.
Travel agencies had predicted a 45% decrease in tourist numbers for 2015. A significant drop felt over the past 3 years.
It's not like the past few years. The crisis is everywhere now.
French visitors normally make up a quarter of annual tourists. Fearing for their security, a vast majority have avoided the kingdom, except for these unconditional fans.
People in France tell us when we go to Morocco, "You're crazy. Aren't you afraid of everything that's happening?" I say no, I don't want to give in to fear.
Cafes and restaurants are desperately empty. The increase in deadly attacks led by ISIS in the region has had a direct impact on local jobs. Here, unemployment affects everyone.
What happened in Tunisia and in Paris changed tourism. Tourists are afraid of terrorism. Here, many people live off tourism, but the sector is really down. It's just not like before.
Tourism is the second largest sector of employment in Morocco. That day, only one client is sitting at Alain and Miriam's terrace. These restaurant owners have faced many declines in business over the past 30 years, but the situation is quite different this year.
There were declines every time there was an international problem. The Iraq War, 9/11, stuff like that. And then it would take off again. But this time it's taking a bit longer. And well, we reduce our purchases, we put staff on leave as much as possible, and then we try to pull through until it picks up again.
We're all in the same boat now. A lot of shops are for sale. The bazaars have closed down. 200 bazaars have closed down and everyone suffers, everyone.
The authorities don't seem to grasp the difficult situation on the ground. The Ministry of Tourism even announced an astonishing figure. According to them, tourist arrivals have dropped by only 1% last year.
I don't know if it's a drop, but it's a reduction of less than 1% in 2015, given the events that have occurred in the region. For us, that's an achievement.
Tour operators, for their part, are aware of the problem and disagree with the official line.
Unfortunately, when there is a truncated image and there is no aggressive communication to show Morocco as it is, smiling with its values, its authenticity, its security, we get the 20 to 30% drop we're going through these days.
Through increased patrolling and monitoring around restaurants, security has been reinforced to reassure the tourists. Motorhome owners are among the first to come back to Morocco. Most of them know the country inside out. After a significant 2-year decline, business is slowly improving for Terre d'Océan, a campsite in Tarazout in the south of Morocco. Emmanuelle has been managing the place for the past 7 years. She is delighted to see a steady flow of arrivals over the past few days. Following the murder in Algeria of Hervé Gourdel, a high mountain guide, she had noticed tourists' reluctance to visit Morocco.
This year it's a bit the same. They wait to see if there is anything to worry about. They see if everything is calm and then they arrive. They arrive right away.
Alain comes from the south of France. He has been spending all his winters in Morocco for the past 8 years. This year, however, he was a bit more reluctant to set off.
With everything that's happening in France, and that has happened, and the media that certainly overplayed it a little bit, well, there's a lot of fear. And as soon as there's something in France, that's it. It's a terrorist. That's all you hear. Well, in Morocco, everything's quiet since we got here.
Morocco is maybe the last easy-to-access tourist destination for European travelers who want to enjoy the winter and escape all their worries about security.
Joining me now in the studio is Amal Chevreau from the Institute for Forecasting and Security in Europe. Hello, thank you very much indeed for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
First of all, are foreigners right to be concerned about the security situation in Morocco?
I think that foreigners have to be concerned about the situation, but they have to balance what's happening in other countries around Morocco and what's really happening in Morocco. Morocco has been secure and safe for the last 5 years, as it was said. A lot of French people live on a permanent basis in France, and a lot of expats in general. So I think to worry is normal, but to worry that much is abnormal. And I think that's what's going on, and the communication that's going on around the whole region is affecting negatively the tourism season in Morocco right now. And on the other hand, I think the authorities have to, as it was said also, have to launch a real communication campaign on what has been done as far as security is concerned in Morocco. There are a lot of measures that were taken and that are safe you can come and visit without any problem. So you have a plan like Vigipirate in France that's called Hadar, and you have some sort of an FBI, a local FBI that was created that was dedicated to fight against terrorism. So yes, foreigners have to worry, but not that much, I would say.
So it seems Morocco is suffering the consequences of simply being in the same region as Tunisia, Libya, correct. Egypt. And also, as we heard in the report, it seems that foreigners, particularly French people, because of what happened in their own country, are more reluctant just to go abroad simply rather than go to Morocco. They're just more reluctant to leave at all.
I think you're completely right. I think the perception of risk is too much higher for the French right now because they've lived trauma in the past months, and they need to reconsider leaving first of all France, and leaving France for other countries like Morocco, like Tunisia, and like Egypt, for instance. What's happened with the origins of terrorists push these people to consider seriously the countries they visit.
Now, we touched on this before. You were mentioning what the government's doing to try and reassure people and how to step up security. But it sounds like the government is in denial about just how much of an impact the low numbers of tourists are actually having. The tourism minister told us for that report that there'd only been a drop of 1%. Surely that's not helping matters if the government isn't tackling this head on.
I think that, yes, there is a gap between what the government is saying and the reality. The reality is that you have hotels that are completely empty, and you have cafes that are completely empty, and the professionals leave it. They leave it. They witness it more than the authorities. And I think this dual perception of things is definitely not helping. So the authorities have to tackle the matter with an aggressive communication campaign, and if I would say.
Is there any risk, aside from the economic impact, of the frustrations? I mean, it's hard to, maybe you could tell us just how much of an industry, how big of an industry it is, because could people in the industry possibly let their anger boil over onto the streets? Can you see it getting that bad?
It could, because tourism is 15% of the PIB. So it's GDP. So it's very important. It's a source of employment for a lot of people in Marrakesh, in Agadir, and a lot of cities in Morocco. So if this matter isn't taken seriously, yes, it could boil up to protests and other more violent episodes of people contesting the official speech about the crisis of tourism.
Is the government doing anything actively, to prevent attacks on its territory?
Yes, definitely. It's definitely deploying a lot of measures, as I told you, with Hadar and le Bureau Central d'Investigation Judiciaire, which is the equivalent of what you would call the FBI in the United States, is really doing a lot to help maintain security within the borders of Morocco. But the perception of the risk, as I told you, is higher than all the measures that are being deployed. So probably there is a lack of communication on what's been done to secure the country. And this is what's really needed from the official authorities, is to communicate on what they do and how they do it, so that people inside and outside would see that a lot of efforts are made for them to be secure when coming to Morocco.
Okay, I'm afraid we've run out of time. Thank you very much,
Thank
Emma,
you.
for coming in for today's Focus. And thank you for watching. I'll be back in a few minutes. Stay tuned to France 24.